We all want happiness, but what is it and how do we get it? Welcome to Jewish Meditation with Rabbi G, making every day count. This week in the Jewish calendar, towards the end of the week, will be Rosh Chodesh Adar, the first day of the month of Adar. The Talmud tells us, Mishenichnas Adar, when the month of Adar comes close, or when we enter the month of Adar, Marbim b'simcha, we should increase in all matters of happiness and joy. We all look for happiness, but the question is, what does that mean and how do we achieve it? You see, the problem often is that people look for happiness from things that come from the outside. You know, if my bank account will be fuller, I'll be happier. When I get this house, I will have happiness. When I get the dream job, the dream life, I'm sure that I'll be really happy. And of course, it doesn't happen that way, and the research shows that beyond the basic level of having our needs met, what we have has very little to do with how happy we will be. So, what is happiness? Happiness is really something that comes from within, not from without. Pleasure comes from without. Pleasure comes from things that we are given, that give us pleasure, and we mistakenly think that it makes us happy, but it doesn't, because it's transient and it's external and doesn't change who we really are. Happiness, on the other hand, comes from within. It's a sense of purpose, sense of fulfillment, a sense of inner contentment that comes from within. And here's an amazing thing. I read some work from Tal Ben Shachar, a researcher, and he writes a lot about happiness. And he talks about the paradox of happiness and the studies that show us that the more people pursue happiness, the more it escapes them. They don't have it. Pursuing happiness does not bring happiness. Well, if that's the case, so what does? And the answer is very simple. From the things that bring happiness, one of the things on top of the list is purpose and meaning. Finding purpose, living a life of meaning, and finding the purpose and the meaning even when it doesn't seem to be so obvious. We have a soul, and the soul craves to connect beyond ourselves. The soul craves to achieve meaning, to achieve connectedness to a higher purpose, a higher being. And in Judaism, of course, we know what that means, to connect to God and to connect to His values and to His moral compass. By going beyond ourselves sometimes and not even always feeling so comfortable, but we do things because they're right. We do another mitzvah, we help another person, we try to be more selfless. That is what meaning and purpose actually means. And that is precisely what brings happiness. It's an interesting paradox because we always think of happiness as something that's good for us. But when we pursue happiness, we're getting stuck in ourselves, or we're remaining stuck in ourselves. When we pursue meaning and purpose, we're going beyond ourselves. And going beyond ourselves actually brings true happiness. Because to be selfless, as difficult or as uncomfortable it sometimes might be, actually brings the greatest feeling of inner happiness, contentment, sense of purpose, sense of contentment. That's why our sages tell us that to achieve happiness, we actually need humility, which is an interesting concept. We might not have thought that. We might have thought that sort of happiness is a confidence, is a real sense of self, but actually not true. The more humble we are, the more we make room for others, the more we bring happiness to ourselves. In the story of Purim, we are taught that, which is the month of Adar, the Jews found happiness. But if we analyze, and perhaps we'll do that over the next couple of weeks, when we analyze the story of Purim, we will discover that actually it was an extremely dark time. God was concealed. Darkness prevailed. There was gloom and doom apparently on the surface. For the Jewish people, they were ruled by a foreign king, a bit of a madman. They were then oppressed by an evil villain by the name of Haman. Things weren't good. Things were dark. And it's precisely in that darkness that they found the meaning, that they found the reconnection with God, that they found purpose. And with that newly found purpose, the tide started to turn, and eventually they were completely saved. That's true happiness. Mishenichnas Adar marbim b'simcha. When Adar comes, we try to increase in joy. Of course, that includes experiences of joy, like singing, like dancing, engaging in experiences of happiness to lift us, to inspire us, to get us going. But ultimately, the true happiness is that sense of purpose, that sense of mission, that sense of goal, godly goal that we have to try and live by, and that brings the true happiness. Let's meditate on that for a few moments. Let's close our eyes, relax, find a comfortable spot. And as we often do, turn your attention to your breathing. Focus, stay focused, learn to pay attention, and give your focus to the rhythm of life, breathing in and out. If your mind wanders, just gently bring it back and just get into that flow and rhythm of life's energy. Breathing in and feeling every breath fill your lungs, and slowly breathing out, feeling that sensation of letting go. Each breath is an infusion of life. Each breath, neshima in Hebrew, is an expression of our neshama, our deep-rooted, godly and divine infusion, the soul and neshama. As you breathe, think inwards, think about your soul. And think about how we live. Do we live outside in, getting our so-called happiness from things from the outside? Or do we live from our neshama, inside out? Tapping into the core of our existence, the godliness, the purity, the holiness. Having our soul inspire us to live with the values that live with our soul. The godliness, the purpose, the meaning that is rooted deep down in our deepest desires and our deepest wants. To live with purpose, to connect higher, to bring meaning. We do lots of things, but do we have meaning? Do we have values? Can we make ourselves uncomfortable and connect to others and connect to God? Selflessness, connections beyond ourselves is the biggest happiness. Let's just continue breathing and just let's reflect. Do we live with purpose? Are we helping others? Are we truly happy? This is such an important thing, especially to think about as the month of Adar comes, the month of happiness, the one that has a story of Purim. Let's find meaning in everything. Let's try to see light in everything from within. And let's try and achieve real happiness. Have a wonderful day.